You just heard from the founder and CEO, Will Mayo. His company is called Spoken Layer. It essentially harkens back to a storytelling time. You can get a lot of the data that is important to you on a type of podcast, so for your mobile device. Our panel, who is going to give him constructive feedback, is author and NYU professor Luke Williams. High Peaks Venture Partners Associates Renee Park is with us, as is Peter Shankman. He is the partner at Shankman Honig. Luke, you're in the hot seat. You go first. What did you think?
Well, anything that gets people to look up from, walking around the streets down there, I'm always bumping into them. I think it's fantastic. So
thank you.
Bringing back the oral tradition. I think one thing that's not clear in the pitch, because you only had such a limited time, is how does all this work? How do you bring it together in such an effective way? What's the network behind this idea?
Yeah, so we spent a better part of a year building out a distributed network to manage all of our voiceover talent and storytellers. It's very similar to the way Uber gets a cab to show up right in front of you. It's that distributed logistics platform that takes a lot of know-how of how creative people work, but you create a process around that and you can scale it.
What do you think, Renee?
I really loved the fact that you're addressing a consumer market that's already been proven out by other companies like Audible.com, but really had questions around what the actual total addressable market size here is, as well as whether this will become commoditized at some point and if it's defensible and what the value proposition is for the publishers.
Sure. I'm happy to talk about the market size. Really is looking at what are the audiences of existing great media brands. So we have many of them within a block radius of here. They have audiences of 30 or 50 million a piece a month, and every time we're adding Spoken Layer to their experience, we're tapping into that whole audience. So it's really as large as the people consuming the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, but being able to take those brands into the car.
And how many commuters? I'm assuming,
there's
too.
140 million commuters every day. They're in their car for almost an hour, and most of them are alone. They don't have content that's personal to them. And what was the second half of your question?
Around the defensibility.
So what we've been really able to do is build a network working with all the different stakeholders of clients and the member network, distributors, users, and we're kind of, the intel inside. We're connecting everything together, and that's really where we created a brand and ability to create that experience to enable people to move through that whole network really seamlessly and really easily, and so there's authenticity there.
Peter, I'm going to steal just 2 seconds of your oxygen here. So, Will, the content is coming from Fast Company. It's coming from Time. It's coming from stuff that we all want to read anyway, but we just don't have time. That's essentially the idea, right?
Well, it's listen, you're too busy to read. People want to, they care about it. I want to read this content. Your newspaper list can only be so long. Yeah, or getting off your screen.
Yeah, that's one of the things I liked. Luke sort of stole my thunder there. I love the fact that we might actually save some lives because people won't be walking into traffic as they're trying to read things. But what I liked about it is it does go back to an older time. I still get my news every morning in the shower from the local radio station. And so to be able to have that, I think would also bring potentially a new audience in that wouldn't be able to read as they're walking on the subway or as they're walking down the street. So there's something about that. What I like the most about this is the concept of the crowdsource. Is that you're pulling people together. They can do this from their apartments. They can do this wherever they have a mic and a computer. They can do this, and that is a huge untapped market. As someone went to a performing arts high school, I know that I have tons of friends who are still very much unemployed.
Wait,
who are trying to get that, who are trying to get that sort of content. So if you're giving them jobs, and there is a market for this, which I believe there is, I really like this idea.
Well, what about quality control? Does Fast Company ever complain that they don't like the starving actor buddy that Peter knows and the way that person read their
piece? He's good, but he might. Yeah, we really look at that again. It's taking advantage of analytics and looking at everything. We're monitoring everything as it's going out. How are people consuming this? Is this storyteller the right for this story? We're using all that, and that's again part of the platform and the network. Is that we're looking at the content, how it's getting voiced, how it's getting distributed, how it's getting consumed. We can use all that information to make really smart decisions in the same way that gamifications, and you use that ranking system to determine how it works.
So, Will, hang on. This is our lightning round, and I'm just going to ask each one of the judges if he or she would recommend or connect you to his or her investing partners. Luke.
I definitely recommend you to investing partners. I think it's a great idea. This is where the web's going. It's been monohaptic, meaning it's just been about sight for so long. So I love that you're sort of making it more multi-sensory. So I'm in.
Thank you,
Renee.
I would definitely recommend it to our partners. We at High Peaks actually focus on e-commerce and B2B SaaS investments, so this is right in our wheelhouse. I think we would probably have questions around exactly what I asked, looking at the total addressable market and really doing a top-down and bottom-up analysis.
if you convince me about scale and that you can handle it as it starts to take off, I'd very much be interested. No question about it.
All right, Will, just so you know, that sounded like 3 yeses to me, which has not happened in about 4 or 5 weeks' time. So well done. And thank you very much, Will Mayo, joining us there. He is the founder of Spoken Layer. Thank you very much to our judges, Luke Williams, Renee Park, and Peter Shankman.